Okay.
I like the fact because it's going to make our conversation very interesting.
All right. Okay.
And on conversations like this, it's not good when two people share the same view.
Of course.
Because we need to come from different place and dig up the dead bones should be exhumed because we are talking about our forefathers. So we must have the courage to go to their grave and dig up their bones and have this conversation.
Okay.
So one of the things you throw on the table is this. It's everywhere in Nigeria. They say the Northerners have this born to rule mentality. That's not a culture of the North. That was a deliberate exploitation of the North. You know, the white man is a very crafty man. The white man is a very intelligent man. And that is why if you look at people who have struggled to gain independence from the white man, they've used various terms. Look at Karl Marx. What's his name? Malcolm X. Malcolm X actually called the white man a devil. I don't share his view. But he was born and raised in America, so he knows the white man better than me. So he calls the white man a devil. And why did he call the white man a devil? It was because of their capacity to manipulate people. And, you know, that's not a virtue from God. Either you're looking at Christianity or you're looking at Islam, because he was a Muslim. But he was saying, these guys they're devils. They're not even Christians, right? They're not religious people. Now, what did the white man do? Just to say a little thing about the North before we go into what the white man did when he came to the North. If you read the history that has been written for us, and sadly, who wrote our history? The white man.
Yeah.
The white man did not only come here and do what he did, but he also wrote our history. He made sure in our history, there is no blame to him. Right? And so from who discovered us, he said he discovered us. That's what our history told us. What's his name now? Mungo Park.
Live Niger.
Can you imagine it?
Can
you imagine it? The white man told us that we did not exist until he came here and he discovered us.
And they gave us the name Nigeria.
Thank you. That is one. The white man also told us we were at each other's neck until he came for his civilizing missions. That's what they call it. That's what they called what they came here to do. But keep that aside. What the white man did to the North is manipulate the North. When the white man came, Islam was already seated in the North. The history we are being taught, and I'm sure that is the history.
You read too.
You read that history too. Was that when the white man came, the white man saw that Islam and the Fulani had conquered. And so what they simply did, that is what they teach us in indirect rule. That they saw it is difficult to govern these people. That is the East. Because they have the kingship and everything. But then these guys, what they simply did was that they just focused on the Sultan and the head. And then the head would continue giving orders. It's not true. What happened was, when the white man came, he realized something. Islam was already here. And this is not the first place the white man came, for their colonization missions or their colonizing missions. What they realized is in every Islamic environment they went to is that if you allow Islam to thrive in any place, it questions leadership. They realized it. And so they did not want education in the North. They did not want education in the North. They wanted, the Fulanese had come and conquered the Hausas, and other smaller kingdoms, right? And then established a system of leadership where you had the Sultan and then you had the emirs, all Fulani. Now the Fulani are a minority. But then, just like the white man who came here were a minority, we were the majority, but they had what we did not have, that was arms. And they were warriors, right? They had gunpowder, and so they colonized. That was what the Fulani did. The Fulani, they are fighters and everything. These ones, they are happy people, they are farmers. They are mostly, how the houses, farmers and everything. So it's easy for a few organized fighters to conquer you. That was what the Fulani did. Now, what the British did was to ensure that they did not give them the kind of education that would open the eyes of the people.
Yeah.
So they did this deliberately. It was the British who let the Fulani know, not the North. People talk about the North. It was the British who let the Fulani know that, okay, we are going to do this in exchange for this. You are going to give us this. So they left the North that way. And they came down here and they left that religion, that suppressive Islam that way. They had the firepower, they had everything to overrun the North, but they didn't. And then they came down here and did what they did. So that is one. Now, just to take it back to our founding fathers, this is my opinion, right? It is true what people say, that our founding fathers, you can't really locate nationalism in that way in them. It is true. It is true that whether you're talking about the Sadwana, or whether you're talking about Bafemi Awolowo, or whether you're talking about Nnamdi Azikiwe, I don't know much about Herbert Macaulay because he died in 1940. I think he died in 1946. We got independence in 1960. So even though he ran a political party, the NNDP, and the NNDP was very powerful and everything, and he teamed up later with Nnamdi Azikiwe in 1944 and they formed NCNC. You can't really say if he was going to be a nationalist after independence. So whatever anybody says about him, I excuse him because he did not play a role after 1960. So I'll talk about the men who played a role after 1960. It is true that they had this ethnic, but what everybody must understand is in the life of a nation, there's always a job for every generation. The dominant problem in the 40s, 50s, 60s was independence.
Yeah.
That was the first problem in the room. We need to gain independence from the British. That generation gained independence, right? But that generation also fell into the trap of its own unique environment. And what was the unique environment of these guys? The unique environment was that they were all coming from their different ethnic. Nigeria we had not lived together this way. Today we've lived together. We're doing business together. Onitsha and Lagos are tied together. Onitsha and Kano are doing business, right? Abuja and Lagos are doing business. Port Harcourt and Medu. Now we've schooled together. We've served together in NYSC. We've worked in federal ministries together. We've stayed in political parties together. We've campaigned around the country together in 2023. In 1960, they had not done that. So by 1960, people were coming to Lagos and they were seeing a different ethnic group for the first time in their lives. In 1960, people were living in Kano, in what we now call Kano, in what we now call Katsina, in what we now call Imo State, in what we now call Anambra. And they had never lived, they have never schooled, they had never worshipped, they have never done business with somebody from far away, right? So the mobilization of those people to participate in a country called Nigeria, you needed a different thing to tell them. It's just like when we're all in the media, we understand this. You speak English every day, but when it's time to campaign, you want votes, you need to speak to the people in a language they all understand.
Identify with them.
Yes. You build a multi-billion-dollar telecommunications company. The staffs, they are British, they are Indians, they are this, they are all over the place, right? You bring sophisticated equipment and everything. When you want to do your jingle for people to buy your package,
you look for local.
you need to speak to them in language. Now, let us trace back to the language of the 50s and the 60s. You wanted to speak to people to participate in an election, and they have never met a Christian all their life. You wanted to speak to people to participate in an election. They have never met a Muslim all their life. You wanted to speak to people to take part in an election. They've never met people from another region all their life. What you needed to tell them was different to win that election. I'm not justifying it. I'm just saying, if you want to say what somebody did and you want to rate him right or wrong, you need to look at the environment the person operated in. So the environment they operated in 1960 was different, but they were able to come together, right? These men, with all their differences, were able to come together. For instance, Ahmadu Bello and Nnamdi Azikiwe, two different people, were able to come together and form an alliance to achieve what they achieved. Obafemi Awolowo himself having a different idea about what this country should be. Still, so, okay, well, we can't do this thing alone. We need to align with these people. Aligned with them and they did what they could do. and their era had passed. It is a shame that in 2023, somebody who was president in 2011, 2015, could have the courage to look back and then blame those men about something himself should have corrected. So this is my view. My view is, yes, those men held those tendencies, but they played their part. And I put the blame on our division, our inability to run the nation, to people who have governed, while I don't absolve them, who have governed after them.